Right, so the workbench is more or less completed. Let me quickly give you the feature tour. Here's the saw. It sits on its swivel base, on the reel base. Underneath there's some space for long stock. I think I'm going to store my steel stock there. Here is the worktop with the Festool 96mm 96 by 20 hole matrix. There is the first floor. I'm going to store some tools there, and that's basically it from the outside. Get that out of the way. Get to that next. Some storage space. I'm keeping the guide system there and a few tools. It was actually quite a big amount of storage space. I'm quite happy about that. Voila. So next is this little thing here. If you remember in the very first video I told you that the workbench is 86 centimeters wide, and there's a reason for that, and the reason is this tool here, which I bought in a sale relatively cheap. I think it cost me 90 euros or something like that. It's much more expensive normally, but what it is an adjustable guide fence, and the way this works in this bench I will explain you in a second. So first of all, this is this got a clamp, and the clamp is actually really powerful. So once it's clamped down it goes nowhere. So I adjust it against the bench docks, clamp it in place, and this thing doesn't go anywhere. So next, let's measure the distance from here to there. And this is arbitrary. I adjusted this to be 1 meter, in theory at least. Yeah, so it's 1 meter, right? So what this thing does is it has an adjusting mechanism here, which when I adjust the red piece against the rest of the fence, it's got a 1:10 ratio, which means that if I move it 10 centimeters in the y-axis, it will move 1 centimeter in the x-axis. So what is that good for, you ask? Simple. So this here is, yeah, there you can see it. This is a 1 millimeter setup block. Meaning that if I move the fence by 1 millimeter, it should be 1 millimeter here. There you are, 99.9 centimeters. Now what you see is that it now moves, let me go from this way, 1 centimeter in the y-axis. In other words, let me add a 2 mm setup block to the 1 mm. And we have now moved 3 mm in the x-axis, which should be reflected here. There you are, 3 mm. But this shows 3 centimeters. Can you see that? So let's go with the 8 mm setup block. And it shows you 8 centimeters. And this should say 9992 now. There we go. So what this means is, because I actually can use the millimeter scale on this, I can now adjust the difference from the fence to here by 1/10 of a millimeter with this thing. Same thing with routing. So if I have a, let's say, something to route at this stage here, I can just do this with an accuracy of 1/10 of a millimeter, which I think is absolutely brilliant. So this thing is made by Otoro, which is, I think, a Japanese company. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's a Japanese company. And there are a couple YouTube videos, but it's really hard to get in the West. So yeah, if you can get your hands on one of these, it's absolutely brilliant. So it's a clamp and an adjustable fence with a 1 to 10 ratio, excuse me. So that is that part of the table. And obviously I can use this matrix here, which is 100% precise, so it will cut 100% exact 90-degree and 45-degree angles. Because it's been done with the Pythagoras and with very, very tight tolerances. So that allows me to cross-cut really, really accurate 90-degree cuts. That's another feature, and probably the last feature in this respect is that the bench is flush with the other table here. So that gives me a really large surface and a really large outfeed, because obviously I can also move the bench back and use a little bit of space between them, and have like a 2 meter outfeed in this very small garage, which is nice. So let me swivel the table around and I'll show you the cross-cutting mode, if you will. So mind you, I haven't done anything except for swiveling the table around and adjusting the fence here with the saw blade. Yeah, so this is flush. And okay, I'm now making an assumption, which some of you might say it's a pretty big assumption with this particular saw, is that the saw blade is actually parallel to the saw table. And yeah, I adjusted that, but it is, I mean, this is a contractor saw, right? This is not a precision tool. But let's assume that it is for now. Then let's check the distance from here to the fence. So there we are, that's the red dot. So this is 0.953 meters on this end. Bring it over to the other end. 0.953. There we are. So I actually can do a very long, knowing that the matrix holes are perfectly parallel. I'm pretty confident of that. So I can now do really, really long crosscuts by using the bench docks in conjunction with this fence, and I can adjust my crosscuts to 1/10 of a millimeter. At least that's the theory, right? Whether or not that works, I'll see when I try it. But for now, I'm very, very happy with my swivel table for the Bosch GTS 10XC. All right, thanks guys for watching and take care. Bye-bye.